I constantly hear about high food prices, but I don't agree with it. I don't believe food prices are high. I think they're obscene. And you know what the difference is? One is a statement of fact, the other disregards the obvious and goes right for the throat. Now, what the hell are you going to do about it? Hello, my name is Ernest, and today that's what we're going to talk about. No, not what's obvious, but what isn't. So stick around. You might even have a good laugh or cry. I'd like to tell you something that many people don't stop to consider, but really should. Your ideas, your preconceived notions, if you will, are largely based on your life experience, and that affects every interaction in your day to day life. And of course, that even includes something as ordinary and mundane as grocery shopping. Now, consider this. For most of us, when we go grocery shopping, we know that there are different stores that can have very different price points, even for identical items. You might, for example, know that a bottle of ketchup, same brand, same size, everything the same, can cost much more at, say, a Whole Foods than at a Walmart or some similar warehouse style grocery. But the question remains, why? Briefly before I continue, if you're enjoying this episode and you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing and hit that notification bell. By subscribing, you really do help the Earnest Mann Show continue to grow. And if you leave a comment or a question, I actually read and respond to them all. And I really do appreciate you reaching out. Now, back to the episode. Well, what might seem to be the obvious answer, the same item costing more at Whole Foods, is because Whole Foods is a much nicer shopping environment with much more overhead and hence a higher price. And on the surface, I can see how that totally makes sense. And therefore, a person really doesn't have to pursue the question any further. But what if I told you that's really not the true reason at all? The truth is, it is completely about one of the cleverest theft manipulations ever invented, principally by a fellow named Edward Bernays, going all the way back to the 1930s. What Bernays understood about human psychology was that selling something is not so much an issue of price, but of perceived value. And ultimately, what all of this boils down to, and unfortunately, what many people simply don't know, is that the simple, non threatening term, marketing, is in reality a deceptive term for manipulation and theft. Now, with that in mind, consider this. If a new grocery store was opened near you and they were named Crooks Groceries, and they had a tagline like, always higher food prices because, hey, we're crooks, would you go shopping there? I seriously doubt most people would. The simple truth is this: there are only around six grocery supply chain companies currently in America, and all the big major players in the grocery store supermarket business pay the same amount for the same product with very little exception. But here's where the huge marketing deception takes place, and it may very much surprise you because the entire con rests on you believing that they are subject to increased cost from suppliers and consequently are forced to pass any food cost price increases from suppliers to you. But in actual truth, it's the exact opposite. The incredibly large and powerful supermarket and grocery chain Cartel dictates the price of any and all groceries they are willing to pay to the suppliers because they are obsessed with increasing profit ratios. Now, I totally understand how anyone in the business would deny what I'm saying is true, more than likely laughing and being very dismissive that I have no clue of what I'm talking about or that I'm crazy or both. But I'm here to tell you what I'm saying is true, and it is imperative for them to keep the con going by blaming anything and everything for increasing food prices, which we've all heard a million times before. But in the simplest possible terms, the primary reason for runaway food cost are the major grocery market chains themselves. So, how can I make such a bold claim, you might ask? I'll tell you this because I am well acquainted with how that system works. I understand food commodities, and perhaps most importantly, I not only have knowledge of wholesale grocery commodity cost, but corresponding profit ratios, which is completely contradictory to the supermarket grocery chain megastores propaganda claim that they run on razor thin profit margins, which is complete nonsense. Just think about this. If that were the case, suppliers could charge whatever they want, and the grocery stores would be forced to pay that amount. But it doesn't work that way. Because grocery items, due to their perishable nature, must be sold relatively quickly. So the suppliers are forced to sell their products at the price the mega grocery chains are willing to pay. And that hierarchy was well established by the 1950s. So, what does all this mean? It means unless price controls are put into place quickly, as they were in the 1970s under Nixon and the mega grocery chains hated, you can expect grocery prices and food costs in general to keep spiraling upward because there's nothing in place to stop their never ending increasing profit ratios. To finish this in the shortest possible terms, we have allowed the fox to guard the henhouse. Now we are suffering the consequence of the fox suffering no consequences. Until next time, this is Ernest, and that's all I've got for today.